Good mythical morning, everyone. It's the one and only notorious, glorious V, the Gorilla Economist, coming to you live with my main man, CJ, aka El Cuco, the master of the flux capacitor. And we're giving you the news, the views, and all the information important to you. Check us out, roguenews.com. Follow us on Twitter at Real Rogue News. And check us out on DTube, Facebook, all the other good stuff that's out there. If you can't find us on one of those social media stuff on Rogue News, try Rogue Money, our old moniker. You can find us there as well. And with that being said, also check out our sponsors. Check them out. Check them out. TheCryptoSchool.io, TheCryptoSchool.io. Get in there, learn to trade, learn about cryptos, make some money for yourself. TheCryptoSchool.io. And folks, let's talk about mycbdedibles.com. Mycbdedibles.com. That is the place for you to get your deliciousness, get your CBD fix on till the break of dawn. Mycbdedibles.com. Whether it's the delectable coffee, the wonderful, incredible chocolate peanut butter Buckeyes, or perhaps that pecan almond truffle, whatever the heck it is that you need, go to mycbdedibles.com. Get your CBD dosing fix right there. It's way better than taking the actual oil. It's 100% CBD isolate, pure, right to the core, and just simply amazing. That being said, CJ, let's crack lacking.
Hey V, good morning. Doing great. It's Friday. We're going into a holiday weekend, so I'm doing great. Hopefully you're doing well, and hopefully our listeners are doing well as well. V.
Absolutely, man. I plumb forgot. CJ. It is the one and only Labor Day weekend. I
It
can't believe it.
is. Yeah,
Dude,
can
I
you
mean,
believe we're already we're like in the fourth quarter, and it's just it's been an amazing fast year.
jeez, 28th almost over, man. You know, it's like it's almost
2018 is
done.
over. It's done. Yeah, it's time to start planning for 2019. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
yeah. And this closes out like the largest portion of what people will do in terms of solidifying candidates and investing money for the midterms. So it's here. It's game face on from this point on, heading into the midterms.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the game face is on, my friend. There's no doubt about it. CG, you're out in Vegas. You're in some major trade show. How's everything going over there?
Everything's going great, and we really want to, with this industry and the cannabis industry, and we want to really try to help and provide opportunity for everyone. I know that some sounds like some Elon Musk statement. But we do, and we're going to be doing some very unique, very creative things to get other people involved, build a community around it, help others who want to potentially get in this industry, because it's just an explosion right now of industry. For example, like in Nevada this year alone was their first year, and they've seen over $135 million in sales of cannabis, and it contributed directly, like just overwhelmingly amount, to help everything from school programs to repaving and the community that's there. So yes, we want to do that. So there's going to be more information coming, some steps that we're taking, and we're glad that Rogue is going to be a part of that, V, and something that we've kind of been working on the past couple of years, and it's going to be no different than the next model that we're building as far as our platform as well. So very exciting things happening going into next year.
Yeah, I'm excited about it as well, man. There's just tremendous opportunities. I love it. I absolutely love it. Siege, it's the final countdown. So I won't play the music because then YouTube. Yeah, exactly. Don't hum it too much. You hum it more than 10 seconds.
They'll pick up
YouTube will ban you.
Yeah.
So don't even hum it. 5 seconds tops. Oh, my man, it's the final countdown over here. It's from our buddies over at Zero Hedge and a bunch of other sources here. Caught on video, Syrian convoy heads to Idlib for the final battle. Idlib is the final holdout of Al Qaeda 2.0, aka ISIS, aka USIS, aka the deep state contraption that it is. Speculation mounts that the Syrian army is prepared for a Russia-backed anti-terror operation in Idlib, dubbed by one army officer as the, quote, the final battle. Videos emerge of a convoy of Syrian army troops heading towards the front line. As they pass through the Mar Shahur village in Hama, soldiers rode on top of lorries carrying tanks, artillery, and armored personnel carriers. One army officer said to his troops they were ready for the final battle against the militants in Idlib province. And this clip comes as the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned and asked the West not to intervene. Sergei Lavrov, the Russian Foreign Minister, one of the smartest guys out there, literally one of the smartest guys out there. Lavrov, hot on the heels of what this general has said, if you guys remember, maybe about 3 weeks ago, when the Russians got word that, quote, a group of a dozen, quote unquote, specialists have arrived in Idlib province. Okay, the White Helmets are getting ready for another Broadway production of Syria gas attack, another Broadway production. And it's the same. See, you figure the deep state gets creative, right, CJ? You figure they get creative.
At some point, you would think they had an ounce of it left, but they don't.
No, right, exactly. You figure that they won't try a gas attack, an attack that's been done several times, proven to be a complete joke. Nobody buys it. Only the knee-jerk idiots that are in the United States government only responds to it. No one's buying the pretext for U.S. involvement. Everybody knows the U.S. is behind the White Helmets. Everybody knows the U.S. deep state's involved and is helping to cajole the White Helmets alongside George Soros. Everybody knows these things. Every single person knows this, and nobody's buying it. But do you think that stops the deep state? Do you think the deep state is deterred? Folks, these people are literally that dumb. They are that stupid that even when weeks on out, the Russians have come forward and said, hey, you know what? There's going to be another false flag. And here's some of the pictures. And they start showing you pictures. They start sharing intel with other nations. They start going before the United Nations and say, hey, you know what? We believe there's going to be a false flag in Syria. Here's what's going to look like. This is the province. They're basically laying it out for you. You might think the deep state would say, hey, you know what? Our cover is blown. If we try to do this, no one's going to bite. Maybe we should try another type of false flag. I don't know. Maybe we should say that, maybe commandeer an airplane and ram it into a building and say that Bashar al-Assad was flying the plane and parachuted out before the plane crashed into a children's hospital or something like that. You know, I mean, be creative, deep state, be creative, but they can't. They simply cannot. So Lavrov goes to the UN. He goes to a lot of people, especially Turkey. You got to remember what Jim Willey says. You know, Erdogan is Putin's little puppy. He is right now Putin's little boy. So Lavrov goes for full political understanding between Russia and Turkey, who support opposing sides of the Syrian civil war, but are currently in intense negotiations to ensure that Idlib does not become a breaking point in the alliance. One of the things that Lavrov says, it goes, I hope our Western partners will not give in to rebel provocations and will not obstruct an anti-terror operation in Idlib. I mean, think about that. And he said that. Where did he say that? Well, he said that in a conference in Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry, in Moscow, with his Saudi Arabian counterpart, Abdel al-Jabir. Think about that. The Russians, knowing this whole thing's coming apart, it's coming down, they call the Saudis. I want you to think about the significance of this. The Russians call the Saudis. They call their foreign minister And they tell him, hey, fly up to Moscow. We want to have a word with you. They didn't go down to Riyadh. They went directly to Moscow. And once he was there, what do you think? What do you think they talked about? What do you think they talked about? Oh, I'm sure they talked about oil. Oh, I'm sure they talked about pricing in non-dollar terms. But most importantly, I bet you the heat of the conversation, the entire meat of the conversation was, hey, here's the deal. That little funneling of logistical support, money, and backing that you're doing to ISIS, yeah, you're going to cut that out. You're going to cut that out. Or I'm going to make sure, or we're going to make sure that every single oil deal that goes through, that you guys are cut out of it, that we will strangle you dry. You folks, you got to understand what is happening in the Middle East. For over 60 some odd years, folks, for over 60 some odd years, 70 some odd years, the dominant deep state powers, using laws like Sykes-Picot, have carved up the Middle East, have created little fiefdoms on which they can manipulate. And one of those fiefdoms that have emerged to be a trusting lapdog of the globalist elite is the House of Saud. And I'm telling you right now that the Saudis are waking up to a new reality. You know what that new reality is, folks? Folks, the entire Middle East has flipped. It is not an Anglo-American centric Middle East. It is not a Middle East that's going to kowtow to U.S. power, U.S. influence, U.S. anything. They understand there are new players at work, China, Russia, and they're doing what they can to stop a greater conflagration. And they're winning economically, geostrategically, and with, most importantly, a wedge that they were able to drive deep into the Middle East. And that wedge, my friend, is Iran. That has changed the game. So what is happening in the Middle East? Well. Syria, of course, is on the new multipolar side. So is Iraq. Oh, yeah. UAE, better believe it or not, is going to be coming along. Yemen is on board. Egypt is on board. The Gulf fiefdom state of Oman is quietly coming on board. Kuwait is quietly coming on board. You see? The only ones that are left is the Saudi proxies, like Bahrain and Saudi Arabia itself. The U.S. Israel lackey, which is called Jordan. Those are the only ones that are left. Lebanon is on board. So the entire Middle East, folks, they have sniffed the change in the wind. And it's in this backdrop. This is the backdrop. And the reason why I give this information to you folks is this is the backdrop on which this whole entire Idlib offensive is happening. The Idlib offensive is the last hurrah. It is the Dunkirk of ISIS, except there's no rescue boats coming. Okay? Lavrov wants to accuse the West of actively heating up the idea of so-called planned chemical attack by Syrian government. As we detailed previously over the last week, Moscow has accused Syrian rebels of planning and staging chemical attacks in the northwestern province. The tie-in article that also connects this is from Mint Press, where the Syria delivers evidence. Listen to this. Syria delivers evidence to the UN showing the Idlib rebel preparations to stage false flag chemical attacks. Warnings from Syria's UN representatives and the Russian military follow hawkish statements recently made by members of the Trump administration. You know, the maniacal mustache can help himself. John Bolt, as soon as the whiff of chlorine gas, the whiff of death, entered the maniacal mustache's nostrils, John Bolton immediately got an erection. No Viagra needed. and he started screaming loudly for death and destruction. The maniacal mustache couldn't help himself. The maniacal mustache, the one of the most vociferous people when it comes to war. The maniacal mustache who couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag, all of a sudden is out there screaming for more death. During a speech delivered on Tuesday, United Nations Council, Syria's permanent UN representative Bashir al-Jafari claimed to have provided the information to the council that was evidence that armed opposing groups, including the al-Qaeda affiliate al-Nusra Front, were gathering to use chemical weapons against civilians in Syria province of Idlib in an effort to frame the Syrian government for attack. In other words, it's the same freaking thing that Jafari from Syria, the UN representative, has been saying to the damn UN idiots for quite some time. Jafari's warning comes as Syria and its allies are preparing for a major military offensive that would target rebel-held Idlib province, which even mainstream Western outlets admit is dominated by terrorist groups and their affiliates. So the Western lackeys who talk about, freedom and democracy and women's rights. Folks, you got to understand, every single town that the Syrian army goes to and liberates from the hands of these terrorists, the first thing the women do is take off their burqas and hijabs and burn them. It's the first thing they do, right? The first thing they do is just be, shouting in elation and in cheer, so happy to return back to normalcy. And the idiot Western the Western powers want you to believe that as Bashir al-Assad is winning this war, he's winning this war, that all of a sudden he has this penchant that right before he's about to wipe out the terrorists, he's going to use a chemical attack so he can incur some cruise missile strikes. That whole pretext is falling apart. Doesn't work anymore. So this is the final countdown. And I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there was absolutely no response at all from the U.S. this time around. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised that in such an environment of massive evidence coming forward, being put forth by the Syrians, by the Russians, hey, here are the pictures, here's the videos, here's everything you need, here's the 12 guys that are involved, this is what our spy satellites caught, here's the rock solid evidence, there's a false flag being staged, another gas attack to be blamed on Bashir al-Assad, don't fall for it, this is an anti-terror operation, let the anti-terror operation go through. You guys admit with your own mouths the city of Idlib is controlled by terrorists. Let us go out there and clean out the rats. You think in an environment where it's that blatant, where the cover has been blown, that the deep staters would hold back? We shall see. We shall see. CJ, your thoughts, sir?
Sorry about that, V.
No problem. Yourself.
Yeah, you broke that down perfectly, and I think what's important to remember here is that when we look at these events unfolding, like the past several years, the past 16 years, all of these are events of the deep state, the cabal. So don't mistake this as far as saying, hey, because I see comments sometimes where people are like, what, but Jim Willey's anti-American, and London Paul's comments are too. It's not anti-American, it's anti-deep state and anti.
Correct.
The thing, it's about the cabal. So when we say things about the military and the capabilities and everything, V and I are probably like two of the most patriotic people that you could ever envision. So it's not that, it's the hate of the deep state, the hate of the cabal that has put America in this situation.
Correct.
And the years that this has been extended, V, just time and time again. And you're right, every bit of it, has backfired. Look at the trillions of dollars that the United States has spent in the Middle East. And what are the net results, V? Nothing. There's no net results for it. So it's time. And the administration, whether you hate Trump or you like Trump, no matter where you are, he is the last line of resistance against this complete takeover that was going to happen, and people need to realize that.
Yep.
And I really think that if Trump doesn't succeed, you're going to see America jump even further into more of a socialist state. And people say that can't happen, but look at some of the recent elections that are happening. There's a younger generation who would be perfectly fine with some type of socialist United States. So that's the danger period that we're in. And Syria marks the point, V, that we really, that Russia, China, took it to the cabal, affected them, and they're pissed off as hell about it. And now that's coming to an end. So I'm excited for this. I hope that the Syria is completely liberated, that the deep state, the cabal, is kicked out. It looks like now that they're rushing potentially into Afghanistan, and there's somehow there's arms and weapons coming in, probably more than likely from Saudi Arabia. Who knows? But this, we just need to be aware of this. So if this happens, that we end Syria, we move forward. It's a huge win, and it's a huge cut and incision into the deep state.
Yep, exactly. See, speaking of some of the things that are happening, we have the situation with Trump and Sessions. Trump saying that Sessions is safe until November. Is Q failing Trump, CJ? What is your perspective on that, man?
Here's the thing, and I get the whole Q thing, right? I totally get it. The only other perspective that I really think that people need to this whole line with trust Sessions, that there's things happening in the background. What I don't want to happen is that nothing does happen. So for all those that are saying, trust him, we just need to wait. We just need to wait. Things are going to happen. Just be patient. A couple of perspectives. I think that as far as exposing the corruption, the things that have happened in the United States, the statement gets mentioned often that we can't handle it, that America won't be able to handle the deep, dark secrets of America's past. And I firmly don't believe that. Yeah, I know that there's a portion of society that won't believe it, but what's the difference? What's the difference between being honest and telling the truth and bringing all this to the surface instead of chat rooms and blogospheres and all that? Bring it to the surface and expose. What's better, exposing the truth or the continuous lies that the U.S. media continues to feed us, that we're up against? Because they continuously do it time after time again. So what I don't want to happen is we run the risk where this whole trust Sessions, but on the surface, and we're seeing someone who how many times have we said that there's certain things that Sessions could be doing right on the surface? He could have easily, like day one, he could have easily went to the FBI. We know now that 35,000 more emails came forward. We know that the FBI didn't even look at the majority of these emails, especially the one on Anthony Weir's laptop. He could have easily asked the FBI to reopen the investigation. And he wants to say that he's not going to play partisan politics with the Department of Justice. That's horse crap. There are legitimate crimes that were committed. And you cannot tell me, V, that somebody who sat in the Senate for just as many years as John McCain, and somebody, I don't even think whoever recommended Sessions being hired, I think Trump did it and he was a little bit hesitant about doing it. It's probably Mike Pence. And then we get this conversation about Huber, that Huber's doing all these things in the background, but then we get Rand Paul saying, well, what's Huber doing other than racking up airline mileage, flying back and forth to Kansas? We know Huber was an Obama appointee.
Yeah, he was a strikeout artist, man. He hasn't really won any major cases at all. He hasn't won anything.
So we run that risk. We run that risk of not putting the correct pressure on Donald Trump to do something. And that's the thing that I'm asking of the Q community, is that let's not wait. Let's continuously, put the pressure on this administration, on Sessions, to do something and make it very public. Make it very public instead of just waiting and hoping for the best. We can't do that because there's a real risk here. There's a real risk here of the things that they're doing. And that the deep state, that these career politicians, they're not going to go easily into the night. So I'm just hoping that with this, and Trump coming out and saying that, yeah, he's going to keep session until potentially, November. And I'm sure he's worried about some political fallout, that it doesn't get viewed that this is more, 3D and 4D chess that's happening. I believe that this war, this fallout between Sessions and Trump is very real. And that doesn't mean that Q was a bad actor or Q was a bad player. It just maybe means that he got one aspect of it wrong. And what's wrong with that? We've got things wrong before, V. It's perfectly fine. But the risk again is by waiting back, and you have thousands of people who are just hoping, waiting for the best, and there's little wins here, there's little wins there. And that someday that all these prosecutions are going to happen. It's time to bring this to the surface. It's time to, for Trump to start exposing this, to talk about these things happening. And if there's a certain percentage of Americans that can't handle this truth, then so be it, V.
Yeah, I mean, the greatest litmus test here, CJ, is what we've been saying forever. The greatest litmus test. I'm telling you folks right now. 2000, I just did an interview with David over X22, and I kind of war gamed some alternative scenarios with Dave. That interview will be up tomorrow, Saturday, so keep posted for that. But it's not time to panic, is one of the things I said, because here's a real litmus test, and CJ and I have been hammering it since October of 2016, and that is the real litmus test is not whether they impeach Trump or not, because they just can't do it. You can take that off the table. The real litmus test is the 2018 midterm elections. If we lose the 2018 midterm elections, I mean, CJ, I cannot imagine the horror. Okay? I cannot imagine the horror, the bad news, the uh-oh moment, like I will have a holy crap moment. I seriously would. And then at that point, everyone should kick it into high gear to A, make as much money as possible, get your preps in order, and brace yourself. I mean, that's exactly how I feel, Siege. That's the litmus test. And I think we can't sit idly by. Just looking at what's happening on these chat boards on the internet and not be involved in the local elections. We cannot get distracted. We cannot celebrate, because the war, when Trump won the election, the war wasn't over. It just begun. You folks, you got to understand this. The war just begun. We need to drive all the way. We need to drive all the way into the very haunt of the deep state and kill them. All of them. Bring them to justice. Make them stand trial. Get them purged out of the system. They are the cancer that must be purged. That must be purged. Siege.
Well said, man. Absolutely.
And I think with that, brother, we're at the end of the show. I think we covered anything. Anything else you want to touch?
Yeah, a big day lined up here at Rogue. So at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Eric from Tradcat Night, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say in terms of the Vatican and everything. A lot of pressure right now mounting for the Pope to resign. Execution occur, the crimes against humanity, against the children. So Eric will be with us at 11 a.m. and then we'll be following that up real strong with Harley at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Harley always delivers truth and clarity. So it's a big day here at Rogue. So don't go anywhere.
Absolutely. And with that being said, folks, we are over and out. Subscribe. Please tell your friends and family to subscribe to the one channel that does it all. We do it all from all angles. Rogue News, baby. Rogue News all the way. And with that being said, CJ, take it away.